Thanks for joining us. If you're just joining, trust me, you've missed too much. But nevertheless, we move on. And now today in the studio with me is Professor Carl Adams, VC Cosmopolitan University, of course, to talk about state of the nation and current hike in tuition fee. Not just that, of course, we have too many educational reforms going on, given the present administration has come on board and they want lots of things to be reformed. Welcome to the studio with me.
Thank you for being
It's good to have you. And how is the educational sector treating you? Because I can't talk about that without asking you such questions.
Yeah, well, the education sector around the world is going through massive changes, and Nigeria is a good example of some of the issues facing the sectors. Certainly finance. Finance is a fantastic example of the big changes going on. How do governments pay for education? And somehow you need equality in society, so the people that go to higher education, they gain something. So one of the arguments is that the people that go to university should be paying contribution towards the extra gains they're going to get out of university. So when we've been looking at the cost structures in universities, they've been increasing. So as people go to university, as lecturers go to university, they expect the salary to be increased. So you could have a university where you have exactly the same number of staff, but 2 years down the line, your costs have increased. And then you have all new technologies, continual changing of technologies, changing in society of what's important. So you have the cost base is continually changing, and the amount of money that government has been reducing. It's always a problem, isn't it? How to fund education, especially in this dynamic environment where there's so much going on. Lots of cost structure limitations there, and this is falling again more and more on the students. Unfair, yes, but what is fair? You've got to be able to manage those extra costs somehow. And unfortunately, students have to take, and the people funding people go to universities have to take on board some of that cost.
Some of the cost. Okay, I'd like to ask you, given that you were from the private sector, and there's been the increase in tuition fee for the public sector, and it's going to look like most of these people from the public might want to move to the private sector, given that, at least they know their 4 years is their 4 years when they're in the private sector. But then for the public sector, given that we have the ASU strike going on, but then I'd like your opinion on something that happened last year, where ASU went on strike. That's the Association of Student Union Affairs for Nigeria. They went on strike, and it was going for about 8 months. And in the 8 months, the federal government has come out to say no work, no pay, because you guys didn't work, we do not get to pay you. Do you actually think this is even fair, given that these lecturers are most of the people that actually impact knowledge into students, and this majorly should affect the society?
Yeah, again, it's a big complex set of issues here, that the lecturers are trying to do the best they can. They have limited resources. They're in that squeeze as well.
Yeah, that's correct.
And you can understand why some of especially when the wages haven't been paid on time, and they're waiting for wages to be paid and so on, as well as having extra work to do. Their workload is continually changing and continually increasing. So you can understand challenges from the lecturers, but also from the students' perspective. Yeah, they've attended these courses, and if they've lost 3 months, 6 months, 8 months,
that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's going to affect their ability to get the level of qualification that represents their capabilities. So it's a complex issue there, and the government has to do something.
All right. I'd like to delve into my topic for today for you, and that's analyzing artificial intelligence and student loans effects on students at large, given that, now that the federal government has said, as a student, you should be able to take loans and be able to afford schools, generally for everybody. Do you actually think this is going to, are we looking at seeing students being able to come to private universities? Do we have scholarships meant out for students in most of these private tertiary institutions?
Yeah, well, the increase in price, in the hike in price at the public sector has started to make the private sector look really attractive.
Really attractive. So that's good business for you.
It's good business for us. But also it's good business because it's competitive. It's making it more competitive. That will also make the public sector start to be a bit competitive. So, now we've got bigger competition. We've got to improve the quality of our courses to compete with the other universities, the private universities. So potentially it could increase the quality when you get competitive activity going.
Okay, speaking about quality, well, maybe because I'm a product of a private university, I would like to say the quality is a little bit higher. And but then, speaking about quality, same. Do you actually think the federal government is partly why most of these public institutions are not being pushed out there properly? Because even if you take a list of private universities in Nigeria and public tertiary institutions, you find out that most of the private sectors have better equipment to actually train and impact more knowledge. And speaking of digital, the world is going digital, right? But then you would expect that to actually push over to the educational system. But does it look like it's affecting the educational system in Nigeria, coming from your own perspective?
Yeah, there's a lot been going on across the university sectors, private and public, in digital. There's been a big drive towards that. COVID had a big impact. A lot of courses, public and private universities, were moving towards, they were pushed effectively into using digital media. And also the students themselves, they're far more engaged with the technology, so that they're experts before they get to university in the technology. And yes, there's a lot more training. It's a continual training activity to keep up to date with the latest technologies. Like with AI, are we all prepared for AI? Wow. The students coming from schools going into university, they're going to be AI experts already. They're already using it in the schools, and they'll be using it in the classroom, whether the lecturers want it or not. It's there.
Okay, I'm sorry to cut you short, but then maybe because I'm from a certain generation where I believe in hard work, and I feel like AI has come to make it easy for lots of persons. But don't you think that's actually going to contribute negatively to the students, given that it looks like they have everything at their becks and call right now?
But AI is brilliant. You can do a lot of things with it. You can, where it really comes off is where you've got somebody who is hardworking, who doesn't mind going out, taking risks, developing things. And a lot of Nigerians are like that, really good innovators, and taking that expertise and that capability and applying it to real world problems, helping businesses. All businesses will be looking at AI, much like education sectors, and saying, how are we going to use this? So the businesses will say, where do we get the experts from? And that's where universities, schools will be pumping out those expertise. Yes, staff, they're going to need training, they're going to need help, and they're going to need support. And there's a lot of activity going on into trying to put that training and support together, again in public and in private sector universities. So it's a very, very dynamic area at the moment. The real interesting and beneficial thing here for Nigeria is that we have the opportunity to technologically leapfrog many of the developed countries. So in the UK, America, Japan, wherever, all across Europe, they're going through the same problem, and they're at the same level. They've got a generative AI has only been around 12 months or so in its current state. So we're all at the same level. So if you've got the fantastic innovation and hard work, as you mentioned, the hard work, that's really important. If you apply that with the AI, you can do fantastic things. You can actually provide the world leadership in applying AI to businesses, to real world problems, to be at the forefront of technology development and technology application. So I think there's fantastic opportunity here.
Okay.
It will take work.
All right, it will take work, like you said. But then my part of artificial intelligence coming from where, let me maybe expatiate on where I'm coming from. There's this AI now that comes out to help you sort out your questions, as far as homeworks and all of this. And meanwhile, we had to go to libraries back in our time to read books, and then you have to pick up like lots of books before you find the final answers to your questions. But then AI just points you to say, this is it. Don't you think that is actually going to affect them negatively, given that in the course of me trying to find one thing in the library, I probably read up on 5 to 10 things, and then I've learned a lot. But then in this case, you do not even have to bother your brain. You don't stress your brain or anything. You just get the answer just like that. We have to develop a different set of skills, because the AI does come up with answers, but not all of them are correct. If it hasn't got enough data and it hasn't got enough information, it will make things up. So it can create and generate false information, false answers. So this is the challenge for the lecturers and the teachers. How do we develop skills to identify what is correct and what isn't? What is wrong here? And that's the key skill that we need to develop. So it's a bit like search engines. You remember the time probably before search engines, and we had debates then in education. People don't have to go to libraries; they can just search. Just do a search in Google search and use your internet browser. But now you can have access to everything. University of Oxford, it's got 100 libraries. 100 libraries, fantastic stores of knowledge. A student in Nigeria can access most of that data via just a search engine. If you can add a little bit of extra analysis onto that, so you can access all that data from those universities, and then come up with some answers to a real world problem, which then we can hone down and say which of these elements of the answers are beneficial, which of these elements and answers need further work before we can trust it, and which of these are rubbish. So those are the skills we need to get. Much as when search engines came out, we had to develop a skills, re-skill ourselves. And now everybody can use a search engine. Just type it into Google. Type it into Google, and we'll be saying, type it into AI. And then we'll be saying, we need to check now which bits. And the AI companies and researchers around the world, academics around the world, including in Nigeria, are looking at now how to check the answers. In some cases, and also, for instance, in media, there's a lot of concern about plagiarism, intellectual property, copyright. So if we steal pictures and images, steal people's texts, intellectual property, how do we capture that? So one of the big international projects we're looking at is how to capture where the data has come from. So we capture metadata, data about where it's come from. And we're trying to, and across the EU, they're enforcing laws. Now, big laws across the whole across the EU that if you're developing AI, you have to adhere to some rules. And again, those rules and practices are embedded in much of the work going on in Nigeria. That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Professor. But then I like to compare the student loans of Nigeria with that of the UK. I don't know if that's correct. But then for a student loan in Nigeria, I'm sure our viewers would agree with me that the president came out a few months back to say, you should be able to take student loans, but you should be able to make 500,000 naira in a year. But given the economy in Nigeria right now, a layman cannot even, who can barely feed themselves. How do they make such amount of money in Nigeria? Is there something that you think the government should do differently to actually, which would actually help education, whether we like it or not? Well, student loans have been taking place for years in different parts of the world. So the United States, they have it. They have quite a rigid and quite an expensive system, especially to go to the better universities. It's very unfair, really.
in the UK, we have a standard set of loans, much as in other countries as well, much as in what's happening in Nigeria. You get a standard set of loans there. And that makes it quite interesting. That levels the playing field for the people that want to access. And yes, it's a challenge. And in the UK, they keep evolving the loan system.
Okay.
So I've got 3 children that have been through the loan system.
The loan systems.
And the rules have changed for each of those because it keeps evolving. So I believe in Nigeria, we're starting off with 0% interest, which is great.
Which is great, yeah.
Which is great. In the UK, we started off at a very low level, and then it was increased, and then it's gone down, and it's increased again, depending on the basic rate of inflation.
Okay.
Okay. So and again, you have examples where low-paid people never actually pay off the loan because they never get above the threshold. They get above the, which is great. It says if you're doing something useful for society and you don't earn a lot, you shouldn't have to pay the loans. And that's one of the principles that we tried to adopt in the UK. Again, it's a good, fair approach. Okay. So if you've got a nurse that maybe doesn't earn as much as a banker, okay, you can see there that it makes sense that the nurse wouldn't have to pay as much. Whereas a banker, she may have to pay more because she's earning a lot more.
All right. Okay. I'm curious. Cosmopolitan University. Can you tell us just a little bit about? I'm sure our viewers are curious at home as what you do and where are you? Where your major area of concentrations? Maybe I wanted to get MSc in at Cosmopolitan University or something.
Okay. Well, it's one of the new universities that is emerging. Okay. We've just got certificated, all ready to go, already attracting students. Okay. And it's going to be an innovative university. Okay. And it's going to be a technology-driven university. We're going to have AI in there.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be embedded. But we're also going to generate interest in people to generate their own ideas. Okay. We've got an innovation centre where students can use a range of technologies from the 3D glasses, virtual reality, 3D printers, and this is actually building on what they're doing in schools. We went to a few schools earlier today and seen some of the fantastic things, So we're giving space for that innovation to come from the schools and to be extended and for the full breadth of capability. Okay. We've got fantastic courses, fantastic lecturers, still got opportunity for other lecturers to come in. Okay. But the key theme here is we're learning from the best. We're trying to bring in the best teaching practices, the best learning practice from around the world. So we've got input and influence from the US, the UK, across Europe, as well, of course, from within Nigeria. So the mantra we're getting is that you don't have to go abroad to get a good degree. You can come to Nigeria and do it and get the same level and quality of education as you can from going abroad at a fraction of the cost.
And what I would like you to know, it creates job opportunities for Nigerians too.
This is one of the core foundations, is that we want to have good collaboration with businesses. Why should businesses go to the States or Europe to get expertise when we've got that homegrown here? So we want that close collaboration. Give those opportunities to our students as well. So we're expecting most of our courses will have placements, interaction with businesses, do consultancy projects with them, do interesting real-world problems, not just for business but for social good. As well.
Okay, so your university is innovation-driven, if I'm correct. What about skills? So not just innovating.
What about
skills? Skills like
skills. My apologies.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hearing aids not working.
Okay, it's okay.
Skills. This is important. The soft skills are what make them, what makes students relevant in the marketplace. When I first took my first degree, we didn't recognise half the jobs that are now current. They didn't exist. Program AI. a good example.
Yeah.
AI programmers, AI developers, search engine optimizers, completely not even thought about then. So we've got to develop the soft skills, the skills of learning how to learn, the skills of being critical evaluation, the skills of developing relationships, good business relationships that are going to develop, skills of trying to understand what are the problems, the full set of problems, analysis skills, assimilating skills. Again, these are all skills that you need to do when you're dealing with AI. It's not just about, oh, can I use the technology? It's, hey, is this technology suitable for these groups of people, suitable for this business?
Yeah.
And what are the unintended consequences? We spend a lot of time trying to understand the impact of these technologies, the potential opportunity, but the impact of these technologies to actually make a positive impact.
But don't you think AI would actually replace humans?
Wow. It will complement humans.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I'll leave on that note.
Yeah, well, the glasses, this enables a human to see better.
Okay.
Yeah, and at a higher level. Will the AI help us to interpret the environment and be better for the environment? Lots of challenges there. I'm very optimistic.
All right,
but we've got to develop the skills.
Okay, I like that. So our viewers at home, you read, AI is not replacing humans, it would rather complement us. That's coming from Professor Carl Adams, VC Cosmopolitan University. Thank you for staying on the program with us today. We hope would have you some other time, of course, to probably analyze more of the reforms. And by then, we hope the president would have made major changes to most of the educational policies, and then you'll be able to come on board to discuss that with us. All right, viewers at home, this is where we come to the end for the Polity today. Thank you for staying with us, and I'm sure you've learned a lot, and of course today has been insightful and a powerful one. Thank you for staying with us. I remain Messi Babajide. See you same time, same station tomorrow.